Hello and welcome. My name is Peter. I host Cobra Kai Companion and Podstalgic. We will be discussing 2025's Karate Kid Legends. Joining me on a round robin discussion, I have my buddy Phil. How you doing, Phil?
Yeah, I think I dropped your connection. Yeah, I'm Phil. Hey.
Okay, hey.
Yeah. I'm back.
And
Thanks for having me back.
yes, absolutely. Thank you for being here. And also, third seat, I have Mikey. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm tremendous. How are you? Thanks
Oh,
for having me.
oh yeah, doing really well, and thank you for being here as well. All right, so we're going to talk about this recent release of a new Karate Kids film, 15 years since the last one in 2010, also starring Jackie Chan. Just a little bit about this movie before we kind of get into our discussion, which we will kick off with a non-spoiler discussion to kind of give us, give you guys our thoughts and whether or not we recommend watching it in the theater. That seems to be one of the big questions out on social media. People are wondering, is this worth going to the theaters for? Can they wait for streaming? We're still kind of in that weird, transition. Well, I don't know. I feel not as many people are going back to the theater post, since 2020. Maybe we'll have a minor discussion of that as well. But at some point, I will play a clip from the film to kind of give you guys a chance, if you have not seen the film, to go out and watch it before coming back to listen to our spoiler filled portion of the review, which will be on the back half after the break. So this film was directed by Jonathan Entwistle. My apologies if I mispronounced that. Not too much under his belt, but this is his feature film. Also, writer Rob Lieber. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Mikey, he's actually from your neck of the woods,
Is he really? I did
Pittsburgh.
not know that.
Yeah, and also not has written very much either under his belt, but let me get into some of the cast as well. Now, for those that did not watch it, to kind of give you guys an idea what this is, I'm going to give you guys the logline via IMDb. It says, after Kung Fu prodigy Li Fong relocates to New York City, he attracts unwanted attention from a local karate champion and embarks on a journey to enter the ultimate karate competition with the help of Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso. So there's no credit on who wrote that. I don't know if that's what Sony provided or whatnot, but that's what we do have in this film. We have, I'll just put, kind of start with their names: Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. Stunt casting, right? It's more so of the sequel to the Jackie Chan film than it doesn't follow the Daniel LaRusso saga, so we'll also discuss that. But in the quote unquote Karate Kid role, we have Ben Wang playing Li Fong. His mother is Dr. Fong, played by Ming Na Wen. Don't have a first name for her, and the we'll call her the love interest, the young lady Sadie Stanley. She plays Mia. Now I don't know, they never say the last name. We've seen it on posters and such, but is it Lipani? Would you guys say Lipani? Lipani? Uh,
Lapini?
Lipini. That's actually, that sounds probably
That
that
sounds
probably
right.
That
It
sounds
sounds more
sounds Italian.
Italian.
yeah, it says
It sounds
yeah.
Italian.
Okay. And that might be the last time I say that last name anyway. But
Fair
they do
enough.
they have a tutor slash friend by the name of Alan. I feel his name may have been mentioned once or twice, played by Wyatt Oleff. I know him from It, the 2017 movie. Uh, Aramis Knight, who plays Connor Day. He's going to be your antagonist, and that's pretty much it, right? In terms of the role players, we have a quote unquote villain in Connor Day and his coach question mark in the character of O'Shea, played by Tim Rosen or Rosen. He also doesn't have a last name, so I'm gonna
I thought
kind of
O'Shea was the last name.
O'Shea's last name, but yeah, first name he doesn't have, kind of like Dr. Fong. Mikey, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your initial thoughts of this film, and maybe even some expectations going into it.
Yeah, so going into it, I'm gonna be honest. My expectations were low, just because I do not like the 2010 Karate Kid, and I say that, but I do like it a little bit. So maybe I just over exaggerated there. But I've watched it with my son, and actually, my son that was kind of his Karate Kid film, as misguided as that was. Um, so and so he liked that, more than the 1984 one, surprisingly. So I watched it many times with him. Um, and But anyways, I wasn't going in. I didn't think it was a good idea to combine the universes, but after watching it, I think they did a great job. I think that Ben Wang Kid is a star, and part of it subverted my expectations a little bit. Part of the movie, and part of it was kind of predictable. But it was overall it was a good movie, and I definitely recommend someone go see it.
Okay. What about you, Phil?
Um, yeah, I thought that this was a movie that no one really asked for. It just felt like the typical Sony cash grab that we're kind of used to seeing these last, I don't know, 7, 8 years. Whether it's Venom or the Spider-Man cast of villains that they're releasing, like Mobius and whatever
Mm-hmm.
else, Craven the Hunter or whatever. And this just kind of felt like it. I felt pretty satisfied with the Cobra Kai series, and I just didn't really feel like there was any need for this kind of sequel. And so my expectations were low, but I was so invested with Cobra Kai that I just wanted to see how they see this through. It just felt gimmicky prior to going in, so my expectations were real low. And after seeing it, I was really pleasantly surprised. I usually come into a movie with wanting to nitpick things and wanting to, I would do this different or that different, or wanting to complain. But I just my brain kind of turned off for 90 minutes, and I just really didn't have any major issues, just a few minor ones. But I wouldn't even say that there were really minor issues until I slept over. I mean, woke up the next morning and really thought critically about the movie. But I just had a lot of fun. With the movie. I felt invested. I felt like there was a good amount of laughs. The serious parts were really compelling, and I just thought the chemistry overall between all the actors and the characters were just pretty good. I don't know. I just pleasantly surprised, and was probably what my big coming away from it is, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack there, but we'll get into the details after the break for sure. Now, when this was first announced, we were told that it was going to kind of do like a different version on the classic storytelling of the Karate Kid. We were going to see a kid training an adult, and it was going to take place on the East Coast. And then as the world was shutting down and things started to change, and then they came out and announced that Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan would be reprising their roles, which was not something that we heard about. And obviously, covering Cobra Kai, there was a lot of concern in the fandom about, like, wait, what's going on? Like, Ralph is still filming Cobra Kai. Like, how can this be? We understood that, that other movie wasn't canon. Like, it's a universe that existed, but the creators of Cobra Kai never, considered it like kind of part of the Miyagi verse. And the Miyagi verse is anything that has Mr. Miyagi in it. So we'll put a pin on that. And then they also do like this worldwide casting for the lead role, which was also kind of like, wait, what's going on? I feel like if you had a script, you would have some things, kind of ironed out, maybe a few leads that you are looking at for possible roles. But it felt like they were really starting from scratch from an idea from that original script. And watching the movie, I was surprised at how much of what we were kind of sold on is actually in the film. So a lot of people, I think, going in did not expect a lot from like Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan, especially with Ralph Macchio not having that availability to film as much as, I'm not sure if they wanted him a lot for the film, but as you're filming Cobra Kai, you're not going to have a lot to have something like totally meaty in this Legends film, but I do feel his presence was meaningful, so I did appreciate that. Um, there's going to be criticisms. I think this film had the impossible task at making something that everybody, including Cobra Kai fans, were going to be happy with, because I feel with Cobra Kai having just end on a really high note, people are fine with that, right? Like you guys kind of mentioned, like nobody really asked for this. I'm a guy that hosted for several years a podcast called Original Remake. So I welcome remakes. I welcome reboots. I'll give it a shot. People worked hard in the industry to produce, these films and stuff for us to view, and so I'm always going to give it a chance. I've been a lifelong fan of Jackie Chan. This is vintage Jackie Chan for me. We'll talk about how he played this version of Mr. Han versus the other one in the details portion, but I really did enjoy this. There's a lot to nitpick, but I think for what I got, I was satisfied because I went in just hoping to be entertained, and we were. I think it's safe to say that Phil, you were part of my party. There was four of us, and we had our laughs, and we just had a really good time. Kind of turned off our brain for, like what you said, 90 minutes. And there was a lot to like, and again, a lot to kind of nitpick and criticize, but I don't think they're that major. I have a friend who is a friend on my wife's side of the group of friends. So like somebody mutual, completely removed, not somebody I would talk to very often. Matter of fact, I don't remember the last time I spoke with her, but she knows that I do the Cobra Kai podcast. And so she reached out just to tell me that they watched it and loved the film. She just wanted to share her thoughts, knowing that I cover the show. And I'm like, well, that's amazing. Not we were able to connect that way, when we have not spoken in several years. So I thought that was really cool. But I think for the most part, it's actually been very positive out on social media in the fandom of Cobra Kai. But going into it after the previews, the premiere, and some of the early things, that's where some of the criticisms came. So I am glad that you have like a critic score and then an audience score, because as of today, Karate Kid Legends does have like a 90% in audience. So people are really
I did see
enjoying
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I just want to add real quick, like, there's like this diehard community online that want to hate this film, but honestly, if Cobra Kai didn't exist and this is the first Karate Kid movie in 15 years, we'd all be loving it so much. Everyone would do that. So, don't listen to haters online. Go see this. It's a very enjoyable film. I just
I
want to add
I
that.
totally agree with you, Mikey. And I really didn't really see too many haters. After Peter mentioned it, I searched it out and then I found it. But as far as like the haters popping up on the algorithm, like I I had to go out of my way to find the haters really. So I didn't
That's a
really
good.
get exposed to it. Like yeah, and like me and Peter were talking about, like Peter told me to like, hey, stay off Rotten Tomatoes before we watch the movie. And afterwards, like I mentioned to him, like we talked about an audience score and the critic score, and really like it felt like the studios are tapping in. They're listening to the audiences, and that's why there's such a high audience score of 90%. And the critic score is not even that bad. It's 59%. And if you look at all the other movies, it stacks up well with Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3. Karate Kid 1, it says critic score of 81, audience score of 90 or of 83. Karate Kid 2, it's critic score of 49 and audience score of 52. And number 3 was a critic score of 18 and an audience score of 35. So, this Karate Kid stacks up well. And granted, there's going to be recency bias, and those audience scores from those older movies aren't, like people aren't getting fresh viewings and then and viewing it for the first time before they vote. Like, because obviously Rotten Tomatoes didn't come out back in the 80s, so like they might be viewed a little differently as people voted, but the critic score should still be accurate based on what was written back then. But I just don't really think that I just feel like uh, social media algorithms have its way of, over sensationalizing negativity. And in
Very
this
true.
case, yeah, and in this case, someone like myself who's maybe not as deep in the fandom as you guys, I really didn't see any negativity at all until I had to seek it out. So I just feel like maybe that's just the algorithm messing with people.
Yeah, and you know what? Like we're a group of people when we go to the movies. Phil, you're basically my movie buddy, and we do a pretty good job at not really speaking during the film. I mean, you shouldn't be anyway, right? That's just bad etiquette. But I literally thought we were gonna walk out of the theater because it's so common. I feel like it's almost like 7 out of 10. We walk out and you're like, man, that movie was complete horseshit. Like that. That's usually like the first thing out of your mouth. And I was pleasantly surprised, like you came away with it and you're like, hey, no, we had a good time, man. It was fun. So that was unique because sometimes we can be on complete odds of a movie. Because we saw several recently, like the Captain America 4, basically. I'm forgetting the subtitle on that one, but also Thunderbolts. I feel we were maybe on opposite ends with both of those films. So we came out of this one really enjoying it. I definitely want to get into the details now, so we'll wrap up the non-spoiler section. It sounds like it's all three recommends. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to end it with this before we get into a break. And again, I'll play a clip to kind of give you guys a chance, for those listening at home that have not yet seen the movie and want to get a chance to see the movie before you get spoiled by us, because we will get into spoilers. There is an end credit sequence. Some people have said it was the best of the film. I'm not saying that's up for debate, but it was a good time. Um, let's go round robin again, starting with Mikey. Are you are you willing to rank Legends in the Karate Kid films? So this is the sixth installment.
Okay, I was gonna say, are we including Cobra Kai in there, or
No, no.
just movies?
Yeah, just feature films, because yeah, Cobra Kai TV show. I think that would be unfair. But that would be part of the discussion in the spoiler portion.
To me, Cobra Kai, or I'm sorry, Karate Kid Legends. Oh boy, um, is the third best Karate Kid movie.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, do you care to share the order of your one and two,
Oh yeah, I'll do the
or
whole. You want me to do the whole rankings real
yeah,
quick?
yeah, yeah, if you want to do it.
Okay. Yeah, Karate Kid Part One, Karate Kid Part Two, um, Karate Kid Legends, and then it would be Karate Kid the
2010.
2010.
Uh-huh.
That's right here. Okay, and then or I'm sorry, Karate Kid Part Three, and then the next Karate Kid is my
Interesting. Okay.
yes.
What about you, Phil?
I really don't want to rank it, but mine's probably similar to Mikey. I don't know where to put this movie in terms of should it go ahead of part two or behind it. But really, even if I think it's really good, I would say that I think it has less replay factor for me than those other ones. Even the bad Karate Kids had more of a replay factor than this one for me, at least. So that'd just be the only thing I'd have to add.
Okay, I think this for me, I think my kids could definitely enjoy this. One thing that we could have we could talk briefly about, but the runtime. I think Phil, I think you're the one that told me that it was like basically an hour and a half. I'm like, what? That's short. That's
Yeah.
doesn't sound good. And for a Karate Kid film that's about the characters and the story, they kind of average about 2 hours long. So to hear that it was an hour and a half and an action movie, I was like, oh man, we're not getting like a lot of story here, and that's kind of how it ended up being. I feel there was a lot cut. There could have been like studio involvement, saying to do this or cut that. Because again, we'll talk about this in much more detail after the break, but I do feel that the runtime was so, we got Jackie Chan, we got Ralph Macchio, kind of hitting on the different gens of, which Karate Kid did you grow up. This Karate Kid Legends is not your daddy's Karate Kid. It's not your, grandfather's Karate Kid. It's your kid's Karate Kid, right? Like my kids, my 6 and 4 year old, they're gonna enjoy this, and this is one that they're gonna, watch more often than the other ones. So making it an hour and a half is gonna make it easier for like a family to go watch this and the little one to not get anxious and want to leave in the middle of the movie. It's very digestible for a younger audience. For the older audience, yeah, we can use a lot more. We can use another 15, 20 minutes. I think, Phil, me and you, actually, Mikey, I think we all had that discussion at different times together about just, we
Yeah.
just get a few more minutes, another 10, 15 minutes. It would have been just right. But I kind of understand it. And we don't know what kind of budget they were working with after getting both of your two stars, and at that point you probably have to look at where do you start making cuts and stuff. So um
I remember. I think it was a pretty low budget movie. I thought it was like a 40
45.
million dollar. Yeah, 40 or 45. So, yeah, like I'm sure they were debating what you're saying, Peter. It's like younger kids have shorter attention spans. Like all of us have shorter attention spans than we used to. But Karate Kid generally has is a 2 hour movie, but this movie also deals with a lot more depth, I felt like, than the older ones. So it's like you're packing more in, but you're giving less time. So it's like it didn't really do some of those themes justice. So it was I wish they gave it another 15 to maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes, but it was disappointing that they didn't. That'd be one complaint.
I would welcome a Entwistle version, a cut. you know,
Yeah, yeah.
if there's a director's cut, I would welcome that. I would love to see more of it, because that seems to be the consensus for those that are generally positive about this film. That their kind of minor criticism is that they want more, and that's a good thing. You want people to want more. So I think, oh, my ranking. So that was, thank you guys for both going ahead of me. So that way I wasn't, gonna have a certain rank where people are shitting me for my ranking. Not to say that anyone's gonna shit on your guys, but I think I would put this probably somewhere like 3 or 4. Two is still my favorite Karate Kid film. I'm just a huge fan of Mr. Miyagi, and that's my Back to the Future 3, right? Where it's centered on your secondary from the previous film or films in the Back to the Future's case, where the third film is about Doc Brown. The second Karate Kid film was about Mr. Miyagi and his life back in Okinawa. That was something that I connected with more. And the third movie, that's why I'm kind of like a little skeptical or a little hesitant to place it behind Legends, because it still has Mr. Miyagi. It has your Terry Silver and Mike Barnes, which this film kind of lacks those kind of not over the topness, but like a really like a real antagonist. Like Connor Day is the bad guy, but we got very little of him, right? And again, we'll talk more about that. So I think I would more likely watch Legends again over Part 3. So I think they tie for third for me. The 2010 film, that one I'll probably watch again like one more time, but that's that one I would like to revisit. I'm just not a fan of the Dre Parker character. Those kids were like in middle school, and it was harder for me to connect with them on any level because they were like children. At least in Legends, they're high school, just like your Daniel and Johnny and Allie were in high school in the first film, even in the third film, right? That was still high school. I think. Yeah. Yeah. What do I wait? What?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, he
No.
graduated, but
Yeah.
he was
No.
young. Yeah, we're
He
not
was
going to get
supposed
in
to be
that
going to
discussion here.
college.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He could, because he was 17 in the third film, but that's a different discussion for a different episode.
Yeah.
I,
Don't start.
I remember somebody trying to jump in my ass like on Instagram. They're like, no, he was 18. I go, then how did he enter the All Valley in Part 3? And then the guy came
Yes.
back like hours later and he stood corrected. He's just like, yeah, you're right. Like, okay. Anyway, all right. Now we're going to play the break. And again, this is your last chance to pause this review before we get into spoilers.
Go to the theaters.
And we're back. All right. Where do you guys want to start off with? You want to just kick it off with that very beginning? Because that's not what I didn't. I don't know if they put anything out about Mr. Miyagi. In this opening sequence, we get a replay of Part 2. Did not see that coming. Had no idea that they were going to be doing this, but yeah, they kind of retconned it a little bit. What do you guys think about that?
I loved it. It was a nice, like, oh my God, comforting feeling. You're back in the theater not really knowing what to expect. You have like already negative perceptions of what this movie might be. And it's like, oh, this calming voice of Mr. Miyagi, like, tapping into your nostalgia. And then, oh wow, they subvert your expectations by adding this new dialogue with, an AI voice of Miyagi now incorporating Han into it. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, I was like pleasantly surprised. And I'm like, yeah, like, all right, it's a good way to start off the flick. So
I thought it was interesting how they retconned, sort of, because what happened with Shrimpo Sensei, the story is the same, but it was just because he went to China, right, to learn Miyagi-Do karate and brought it back to Okinawa, I believe. And if the story's correct, and here in this version, he learned it from Mr. Han's family, I suppose. And it's interesting. It's an interesting retcon. I didn't hate it. I liked it. I will say I loved seeing the part two. I was pleasantly surprised. They put the wrong year of the events of part two. They put 1986. So if you're a diehard and you're wanting to hate this film and you they give you a slight reason 30 seconds in, but it didn't, but that didn't deter me. But yeah, I thought it was interesting overall, the retcon.
how do you
Yeah,
have such a how do you have such like a hardcore fan base, like all these writers in a room, people like okaying these decisions, and then they get a simple mistake like that? Like, how is that allowed to happen? I don't get it.
see, I kind of mentioned like this film had kind of an impossible task to make something that was gonna kind of lack a lot of these errors, and we could even kind of sprinkle in things that it may. Okay, so when we talk about legends, we can sprinkle anything, any knowledge we have from like Cobra Kai or the other films to kind of help answer. But I do feel this film kind of did things that made people question too much into the lore and mythology. Things that were also established in Cobra Kai. I think it would be unfair to ask the filmmakers to watch like all 65 episodes to make sure that their continuity was going to be good. I think what really happened was the creators of Cobra Kai, John, Josh, and Hayden, were like, hey, here's some notes. As long as you're mindful of these things, then it wouldn't create like an alternative timeline, right? Like these are our plans for spin-offs. These are the big things we've established with like Mr. Miyagi or Daniel LaRusso. So I think the filmmakers were maybe given an outline and some notes and say just avoid this, or if you're gonna talk about this, these are the parameters in which you can speak of or whatever without kind of ruining anything. But yeah, I like the retconning, which explains how Shifu Han knows Mr. Miyagi, but then yeah, that opens up to the whole like that story with Shimpo Sensei and landing up in China. Once you start diving into there, you got more questions. This film is definitely more. You got to suspend a lot of disbelief just because there's so much detail out there. Again, being established by Cobra Kai. I do like a lot of people have been making comparisons to like Into the Spider-Verse and kind of like their use of graphics and the slickness of it. I do like the look of it, which is something I could have mentioned in the non-spoiler part.
The
But
look of New York is
yeah,
amazing. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, it looks really good. There's so much to talk about. I wish I
Just a
yeah.
question about the Miyagi. So are we to believe then the Miyagi and Han family have just been friends for generations because they taught each other karate? Like that's what I picked up from that, right? So they've been friends for hundreds of years.
Yeah, I think to me it just felt like the Mr. Miyagi's family and the Hans that they all came from the root of it comes from one place, and I don't know if one is taking credit from the other. I think
Yeah.
they just originated in China, so maybe Shimpo and yeah, an ancestor, right, of Han. I think that's what they're telling us.
I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. The
I,
like
I,
obviously there's a lot of like little plot holes and stuff like that. One that comes to mind only because we talked about it pre-recording. Mikey, you mentioned the look of the new headband. That is something that we haven't seen since part three, right? Like Julie Pierce, she wasn't given a headband, so that was nice to see. Did you have
Yeah,
a
so I like the way it looks. The only thing is that for me in Cobra Kai, one of the things I really wanted was Daniel to give Mary Mouser,
Sam?
Samantha, thank you, um, that headband, and I was expecting that to be a moment. It didn't happen, but then he gives this kid who he's known for 5 days a headband, and it just I don't know,
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, Daniel does give Sam one from the Sekai Tech guy, but that's not like something personal from the family and passed down. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that whole thing, I'm just like, okay, well, I guess we can say maybe it was explained in that Miyagi box as well in season six, part one. Like that could have been something, and we just didn't see it in Cobra Kai, and maybe Daniel wasn't able to make the connections until like after the event. Which, by the way, let's talk about this. Do you think it was necessary, or why do you guys think that this takes place 3 years after the events of Cobra Kai? Um, because of some things that could have happened in the near future following its end, impossible spin-offs, or I just thought it
I,
was really interesting because the location, it looks like the Miyagi location from the films, like identical.
I, I think
I,
it just makes it easier for them to tell a story that way, and not have to deal with the messiness and not have to, coordinate things with the writers and answer questions that might, like it just gives them a little bit of runway. So I just felt like that was the purpose.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't like. I don't think we're gonna see like a series in between these 3 years or a movie that takes place. Like, I can't see that. I think it was enough space that they're it's not because I don't even know. I lost track of years in Cobra Kai. I don't even know exactly what year it ends, but um
I think 2020.
2020. Okay,
Yeah, but I think they just skipped the whole COVID thing, obviously.
before
So
COVID. Okay, so this
I
is
mean, it
takes
could have
place
been
in
after, but I don't think
2023.
they're. Yeah.
Like it does. I don't think it really matters when exactly this takes place. I know like they had Ralph Macchio grow out his hair, so it looks like time passed. I don't know why that needed to happen. To be 100% honest with you, um, but yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that. To be, I don't know.
Yeah, I was curious. I mean, I understand all that as well, but also, it almost looks like Daniel hasn't trained in a long time. Almost as if Miyagi-Do wasn't around. That
Oh, maybe.
him and
Yeah.
Johnny are just friends, and they happen to be at the Miyagi-Do location. But I will say it was dressed nicely on the inside. I liked it a lot, but it was the outside. I'm like, somehow they recycle something and then like CGI in the more modern vehicle when the more modern taxi, when Jackie Chan arrives.
Did
Um,
did it did it
Wasn't
look more
wasn't
plain
it
to
a different
you?
location? Wasn't it a different
I
location? It's a
I
different
don't
house.
know because I have seen the side by sides. Like people have taken, like the Karate Kid 3 or Karate Kid 2 screenshots and matched it up against with what we were seeing in the trailer, and it looks identical because the one from Cobra Kai is completely different. It doesn't even look the same as what we've seen in the movie.
Interesting. I don't know.
But I do know like the original locations from the films no longer exist. So that's why
Right.
I'm wondering. Like there's definitely some movie magic there. So
Because we tried to visit it.
yeah,
It
yes, we
says
did.
it says the one in the movie is was in Montreal.
Huh.
Oh, they
So
must have
they
recreated it.
Yeah.
guess so. Wow, they must have had like a bigger budget than I guess for that. That's really interesting. I'm gonna have to do okay. Wow. Mikey, you kind of said something that made me think about this. What did you guys think about Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan's reprisal in these characters? Mikey, let's go with you first.
Um, I like Jackie Chan. I know you think I know you. Well, you'll say something,
Mm.
but to me, it seemed he seemed like Jackie Chan, a little more funnier than the last movie, maybe. Um, I expected him to be in the movie more, to be honest with you. Uh, and I Ralph Macchio was fine. He seemed a little. more serious in this movie than Cobra Kai, Ralph Macchio. Maybe it's just the tone of the whole movie. But and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they were okay. I don't know.
Okay. All right, no problem. Phil, what about you?
I felt like Ralph was a little I don't know. He was a little more stoic than we're used to seeing in the movies and in the Cobra Kai show. But when I was watching Mr. Han or Jackie Chan, it felt like I was getting Jackie Chan and less Mr. Han. Just in the last movie, which I'm not really too connected to. Like Mr. Han was kind of a drunkard, kind of a jerk. Like he was more standoffish and stuff. So I was like, this one was just more cordial. He was funnier. Like he was just nicer. But like it just didn't feel like the same character. It just felt like I was watching Jackie Chan on screen rather than, the same person from the last movie. That'd be my only takeaway. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I did mention that this was vintage Jackie Chan, and like I'm a fan of his movies. Obviously there's some that I'm not huge fans of that are more kind of geared towards kids, but I enjoyed like the Shanghai Noon and his version of Mr. Han here. And I did have to kind of look this up a little bit, but there is an interview with the director where he did acknowledge that Dre Parker is a character that exists and is in canon, but just has no connection to the Li Fong character. So, in so many words, he's basically saying this is the same Mr. Han. I do feel Jackie Chan is playing him differently. He's playing him more of like, yeah, Jackie Chan. But I watch Legends, and I'm like, man, this is like retired Inspector Lee from Rush Hour. you
That's
know,
that's what I was trying to think. I couldn't remember the name of the movies, but yeah, definitely. That's exactly what he's like. Yes.
Yeah, so he's more like that than he was in the 2010 Karate Kid. So like, yeah, Phil, like everything that you said. I know people could change in 15 years, but I don't know if he would become like that much happier. I don't know, but he's become a Sifu, sorry, of like he's got a pretty big martial arts school that we see. Probably is like, where did that come from? Like I
Very
don't.
successful all of a sudden.
Yeah, so I don't remember how the film ended in the 2010 version, but it was just kind of a big jump from what I recall, but I was fine with it. So like in my mind, it was almost like kind of how some people feel about Mr. Miyagi in the fourth film, the next Karate Kid, where they're like, well, this is like kind of like Mr. Miyagi, but not really. This is how I felt about Mr. Han. Like, yeah, it's still Jackie Chan, but he's playing him differently. So, alternate universe, I don't know. I mean, Dre Parker's not mentioned. The director of Legends can say that, yeah, he's still part of canon, but I think you'd have to say that if the Mr. Han in this film is the same one from 2010. Um, so
I mean,
so
you
that's
don't really need to say it. They did jack it on, jack it off. That's pretty much
that's
the
that you're right.
the reference. Yeah.
And it's not, and that's actually like a respectable thing. Like that works in their universe, right? Like it's proven.
Yeah.
So I do like the idea of that. Like it's not a joke. Like in wax on wax off. Uh, so I do like that. It's actual thing. Like, oh, if you could go train with Sifu Han, jacket off, jacket on, like that is a real thing. Ralph Macchio, when we first see Daniel LaRusso, I did like it was a different vibe of a Daniel LaRusso. And I don't know if that's like Daniel 3 years from Cobra Kai version either. So that also felt like a different Daniel to me until he actually gets to New York. And I do feel he's a little bit more Cobra Kai Daniel. Once we get to like the training and stuff like that, and even
That's true. Yes.
yeah, and even his
Yeah. Yeah.
dynamic with Mr. Han, I felt was kind of like him and Johnny-esque, like Daniel and Johnny-esque a little bit. Like one of my favorite moments, and this got a loud reaction from like our showing wasn't, it was a late showing, so there wasn't very much of us. But when they kind of fight over like who showed who. Or who showed Lee the kick, right? It's like, oh yeah, I showed him that. No, I showed him that. So
Yeah.
that was pretty funny. That was very yeah, I like that back and forth a little. Where else do you get?
But even the Cobra Kai Daniel, it was like lighthearted banter, not really serious kind of rivalry, right? It was just
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know what? I don't mind a little bit of that rivalry because for
it,
decades
it's like
Daniel just you know,
brotherly love. It was like brotherly like conflict, or fighting, but not
yeah,
really.
yeah, because he's grown up to only know the Miyagi-Do side of this,
Yeah.
two branches, one tree, and now he's being introduced to basically the other version of him. They like Mr. Han was a sensei, and now Daniel's in that role, and the two of them are now together. So there's that connection with Miyagi. Um, so I think there's a lot to criticize. Is there any specific one you guys want to jump into right now?
I don't know. I thought the setup of Han getting Daniel to come out was cool. I mean, it was kind of creative how he was able to push his buttons and convince him to come out. Because I wasn't really sure how they were going to pull that off, and I thought it was earned. How
I
he
could.
basically. Go ahead.
I just want
Go
to
ahead,
bring
Mike.
up that Mr. Han flew from China to New York, and then flew from New York to Los Angeles, then flew from Los Angeles to New York in like a day and a half.
Do you remember
It's-
when Miguel and Johnny flew to
well,
Barcelona?
that's what I was going to bring up. Yeah,
So
same
yeah,
thing. Like
He's got
that.
a. I
That
think
was.
he's
I
got
was
a
like,
private jet. He's probably got
man,
a
is there
private
like a
jet.
whirlpool or something? Maybe
he
I
he
don't know.
may have a private jet, but if anyone wants to criticize that, I'm sure they'll think about the Barcelona trip, the back and forth with Kenny,
True.
so yeah, there is a portal or something that they are going through.
They they
Let's
they from New York to Los Angeles too. So
What was that?
they did deliver a pizza from New York to Los Angeles too, right?
Yeah,
There is that
when
too.
when they made that delivery, I
Sure, that
was
was real
like,
tasty.
how long the hell did that take? And and also, is it still good? And then we see it, and you have to cook it, so it was probably
Yeah,
refrigerated or frozen on the way there. So I
yeah.
get it. Again, a little magic hand waving. There. Since we're kind of talking about that scene, you guys want to go straight to the stinger?
Nah, nah,
Sure, let's
nah.
do it.
No,
Yeah,
save
Oh,
it. Okay,
you
we'll
want to do
save
it?
it.
All right.
No, let's save it.
I don't care. It's fine. I'm good either
We'll
way.
we'll save it. We'll save it.
Got it.
It'll give people a reason to continue listening, I guess. Um, let's talk about some of the characters. Let's go with Victor, played by Joshua Jackson. Many of us grew up with him as Charlie Conway from Mighty Ducks. I'm a big fan of those films as well. Um, so from early on,
Pacing
when
Dawson's Creek.
yeah, I not a show I watched, but I
I
know
watched
a
every
lot of people
episode.
that
Pacey
play.
belonged with
Yeah.
Joey. Screw you, Dawson.
I
I'm
I I really like the casting. He was kind of disgruntled guy at first, to him, and I was like, all right, well, in a movie steeped with nostalgia, like what better person, right? You mentioned Dawson's Creek and Mighty Ducks, and it's like, all right, well, Mighty Ducks is full of underdogs, like and he was like the leader of that, so it's like, all right, well, I thought that was really cool to have him be in this and get beaten down, and then you want to see him rise up again, and
yeah.
yeah, I just liked how he was casted in that role.
Let's just kind of briefly go over, like, I mean, because I know I already mentioned the cast, but Joshua Jackson, you guys already mentioned, like, kind of his bigger stuff. You cast him in that role, and I think he did a great job with what he had. And I think he did just enough where he's not trying to like chew up the scenery and just do his bits, and that's it. And then let's focus on Lee Fong. So I,
Yeah.
I like that we didn't give him too much attention. Like, this is kind of the reason for the film. Um, at least that's what was told to us initially. But you got Ming Na Wen, Disney Princess Mulan. She was in several Star Trek. Uh,
Chun Li, bro, Street Fighter.
Chun-Li, yes, 1994. So you're gamers. Hey, come on. I'm going through.
Yes.
She has a plethora of things, but also, like, with the recent announcement of a Street Fighter movie, and the current director is Katao Sakurai, who I've interviewed because he directed a few episodes of Twisted Metal. Looking forward to that. But people are still kind of shitting on on that film, the 1994 film. I'm like, guys, it was fine. Like, not many. Um, games had been adapted at that time. You had like Mario. Mortal Kombat would come out the following year, you didn't have a lot to go off of yet, and people are still trying to figure out how to make that work. So I'm just yeah, I'm ready for the Street Fighter reboot. But anyway, yeah, she comes from several things from the '90s. And so you got these people involved that are gonna bring in kind of like our generation, like, oh yeah, I know all of those actors, and it's gonna make us want to go see it. Um, yeah, let me see. The mom, I don't have a strong opinion of. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure if we needed her. Um,
I don't know. I think like you can tell that her and Lee were going through like they were dealing with a tragedy. They were grieving. And so I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I will say the part right before the tournament where she finally gives the blessing for him to fight, I it touched me. I don't
mm.
know. But I get what you're saying, but
Could you
uh,
had given those moments to Mr. Han though, because they are related? In this film, Mr. Han and Dr. Fong he is her uncle, right? And
yes.
so Li Fong also refers to him as uncle, but is more Sifu Han. So they are related. Could you have given all that stuff, and there would be, the mom exists, but she's just not in the film.
Maybe, but then why would they have moved to New York?
Yeah.
Why, I don't know. But
I
I mean,
think
but I will
her,
say
I
we
think
didn't
her
get much of her. Like, did she make friends in New York? Like, what's her work like? We didn't get much. I mean, again, this was a tight hour and a half, but like,
Right.
I kind of felt like her purpose was mainly just to mirror the original Karate Kid movie, and her role was just as limited as pretty much Daniel's mom was, right?
Yeah.
that's true.
I misspoke if I said that this film was the first one on the East Coast, but I forgot that it was Boston in the next Karate Kid. Um,
I
but
think it
I
was
mean,
Detroit.
but
Oh, Boston. You're right. I'm
yeah, it
sorry.
is Boston. Yeah, but
Yeah,
Li
yeah.
Fong is the first. I mean, Ben Wang is. I didn't even look this up to see if he was Asian American, but at least the first Asian like Karate Kid. You know.
I'm not sure.
But
No,
but
I don't think he was Asian American because he was Chinese mainland and then
okay.
studied in Hong Kong.
Got it. Okay, so because I'm trying to remember some of the things that I've been seeing like posted by other media outlets. I don't know if I just kind of
Oh,
misquoted them or
are you talking about the actor or the
the
character?
actor, the actor.
Oh, the actor. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was gonna misspeak, like, but I don't know for sure if he is Asian American. Because I was about to say that, but I didn't even know that for sure. That's why I was
Oh,
trying to correct myself. But we know, yeah, Li Fong, he learned English because he went to like an American school in Hong Kong, right, or Beijing. I'm sorry. Um,
Hmm.
and so that's where he learns English so well. So that's a little like hand wavy, right? I suppose because he doesn't even have an accent. But I think that it's fine. Like they were just like it got explained. Like why does he speak English so well? Um, so yeah, I guess after making that comment about the mom, it does mirror the first Karate Kid film. Do you guys want to talk about like any other beats that makes it a Karate Kid film? Um,
I mean, he gets
right.
bullied. I will
Moves.
say the in this instance with Connor Day, like he just immediately hates him. There's not even like 10 seconds of I don't know. I think he hates him a little too fast, but
I
there's
mean, he does.
that.
To me, it's not really he hates him, right? He was just more like he viewed that he was the obstacle of the. I mean, that's preventing him from getting his girlfriend back, right? Like, it was more about that than
True.
him trim hating him. Like, but it just felt like it just matched a lot of the beats from the original movie. It's like, all right, moving, find new bully,
right.
bullies in love with this girl that you like too. So there's a love triangle, and have to fight. That's pretty much it, right? So it's pretty much like a retelling of the original movie.
Yeah, Connor Day, played by Aramis. I wish I looked up his name. My apologies. Mr.
I think
Knight,
that's
who plays Connor Day. I don't know what it was, but I feel he has a kind of an undescript look. Like he doesn't stand
he
out
kind
to
of looks like
me.
Terry Silver a little bit with the they're sort of going for that look, I think.
Who is
I
that,
don't know.
Mikey?
He said Terry Silver. I was almost kind of like thinking like Robbie a little bit, with the,
Okay, yeah.
but maybe that's more Tanner, with like the man bun and stuff like that.
Yeah,
The
okay, I
long
can see
hair.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like in between, but he almost I felt like he didn't really have like a distinctive presence, like this is the bad guy, we're gonna give him some moments in the beginning, which I really liked. I like the stuff on the subway, I like the stuff on the school, but that drops pretty quickly because then we're gonna have to kind of learn about the Joshua Jackson character Victor, and then you kind of forget about all of that until Lee is challenged in the courtyard to the five boroughs.
Yeah.
I found him really one dimensional. I bought him as a threatening person, like,
Hmm.
and they showed him kicking his sparring partner or all the various acts of violence he did. I found all of it believable, but at the end of the day, like, Karate Kid movies have excellent villains, whether they're good movies or not. Like the worst, I mean, Mike Barnes was a fantastic villain. Like Terry Silver was a fantastic villain in Karate Kid 3, even though that movie was trash. And those villains still resonate with you.
Hmm.
And despite him feeling like, he was still physically imposing, like this villain is very forgettable after this movie's over. Like I don't care about him at all. He
Yeah.
just doesn't resonate with me at all after it's over.
They,
But,
they yeah, they don't stand out. It's almost like a reversal of that, right? Like you're giving us the beats that are familiar, but then you're also gonna and to take a phrasing from Cobra Kai, and they flip the script a little bit. The villains don't really stand out, but you're gonna enjoy these characters. The O'Shea, who we kind of mentioned, who runs the gym, also a loan shark, question mark, also a
It's very
coach. I
peculiar.
don't know. I don't know his for I think I don't know which one of you guys I told this, but I didn't even make that connection between O'Shea and Connor, because when I saw O'Shea in his corner at the Five Boroughs, I go, wait, did we know that? Like I just thought that I thought maybe O'Shea was also a fighter at the gym. I didn't really get the impression that he owned it. I might have missed some stuff written on the walls that said O'Shea. I don't know. Like I didn't take the notes, but that was a surprise to me. Did you guys know that at all? That he was
I mean, I did know that, but I don't know why. I don't. Now that you mention it, I don't think there's necessarily a scene where he's really coaching him per se. I mean, maybe. But I think through the dialogue with Vincent and Lee, I think we get to know that he's the owner of the gym and the one that lent him the money. I don't know,
Victor.
but
Victor.
or Victor. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
Um, so,
I'm sure
but yeah,
Joshua Jackson wouldn't mind.
yeah. I sorry,
He's
I do
totally
that a
fine.
lot.
We're friends.
Uh, but but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree that both the villains were very one note, but then again, to be fair, we have in our heads Cobra Kai, which was 65 episodes of them fleshing out villains for us to love and hate and love constantly. So
Oh yeah, I even added layers to those movies to understand those characters even more in hindsight. But yeah, that was kind of the weird thing for me, that even Victor, when he does fight, he fights this character named Ortiz. They have like a little history, but they don't really go into that. And so like O'Shea never really becomes like a big obstacle for him, and that's why I didn't. When I saw that O'Shea was in Connor's corner, it threw me off because I'm like, wait, why does an owner of a gym, if he's a coach, fine, whatever, trainer of sorts, he has like henchmen. So that's why it was weird for me. I just thought he was like some gangster, and
They
so
they were like I think
right,
they were trying to play off the Italian mobster like vibes. Like I think that's what Mia was like pointing out, and then even Mia's dad was, or I mean Victor was they kind of pointed all this out in throwaway lines in the beginning. So I think if you weren't paying attention,
mm,
it's easy to forget it, but it's still pretty like lazy. to combine all these things into one, like it's just because they had a 90-minute runtime. They probably just had to resort to stuff like this. But,
Right,
you
right.
know,
It's yeah, I mean you make a really good point, Phil. I think it's like, here's the script and they're like, okay, well this is too much. What can we do? Well, let's just make him also the owner of the gym.
yeah.
So there's probably a lot of that where we're like, but why?
It,
Um,
it's interesting though, like in modern day, like storytelling's gotten so nuanced, so complex, so good. Like characters are so much better, but like there's just one thing that modern writers like haven't really nailed it's villains. Like, I mean, the only reason we loved Cobra Kai, I feel like, as much as we did, is they recycled villains from movies back when villains were good. Like, if you think about all the new established villains, like they don't really hold a candle to all the ones from the movies, right?
mhm.
Like the Iron Dragons, like they weren't really that great of villains. Like it's just something that modern writers can't really do well, is establish new villains as well as they did back in the 80s, I guess, or 90s, Like just
Yeah.
it's hard to make iconic villains these days. So um
Yeah, you have to kind of make them anti-heroes. These guys are conflicted, and they're good and they're bad.
yeah,
I think that's easier to write, but to make them like a straight up antagonist, those are harder.
yeah.
And I don't know. Uh, I feel there was another direction I was gonna go with.
Can I talk more
Yeah,
about Joshua Jackson's character?
please.
Because so first of all, I just want to say the part where Lee was training him, I thought was a nice flip a little bit, and I feel like that took like a good chunk of the movie.
Yeah,
But but I liked him. I liked the relationship between him and his daughter Mia,
Mia.
which we haven't talked much about yet. But I had this question about the boxing fight. So his plan was for Lee to train him in karate or in kung fu, sorry, to help him in boxing. Um, I guess to make him quicker. So he goes and he does this boxing fight, and he needs to win this money to pay off the loan shark, O'Shea. Well, he fights, and then he's about to win, and then the guy he's fighting, Ortiz, right,
Yeah.
elbows him in the face, and Victor ends up going to the hospital. Shouldn't Ortiz have been disqualified, and then
I think he
Victor should have
did.
won the money? Okay,
Yeah, I
well
think
then
he
shouldn't Victor have won the prize money then?
yeah, but he probably had to pay all that prize money to go to the hospital. That probably took all his
All
money.
right, fair enough. All right, I'll take that as an answer.
So
No,
so
but you're
it,
right. I think that is a flaw. Like, yeah, I agree with you. That I don't think narratively they thought of that. So,
But
yeah.
because yeah,
I don't know.
technically he won through disqualification, right? So he should have got the prize money.
Okay, because I was gonna ask, is there any way that well, because and that's why Lee wants to fight, right? Because he
To win
felt
the
like,
prize money.
yeah, to win the prize money. So he felt guilty for not being able to come to his senses when Victor kind of needed him right after being trained. So that was kind of the spin on it as well, right? So not only do we have the kid training the adult, the kid's not going to do a very good job at it, and because of his actions, gets another person severely injured. So the mom having worked at the hospital. That's where we get some of these moments with mother and son as well. I do like their moments together, but I just felt I just feel the moms in this entire franchise have been so underutilized. Even with
That's
Cobra
fair.
Kai,
Well, they're underutilized on purpose because they're like the ones like in the like they're like basically the breadwinners of the family. Like they don't have fathers and stuff, so they're not really able to be motherly, right?
I mean,
Like
it,
even Amanda in Cobra Kai, like she's basically running the dealership while Daniel plays karate.
that's true. Yeah,
Where and then Daniel's mom is basically trying to put food on the table.
right. She's a
And
single
same,
mother.
yeah,
Carmen was a single mother.
yeah. So it's
Yeah,
pretty much just all single mothers, with the exception of Amanda, who's basically a single mother, while
yeah.
she's working all day.
Yeah, I mean, there could be an opportunity to kind of change that as well. Like, you can give us a similar beats, but why don't you do something a little bit different as well? I do like it how it has its own identity, but even some of the beats that they redo, some of it worked, and some of them were just kind of like, oh, well, that could have been a little bit more polished. Again, they had a really uneasy task. The Mia character, Mikey, you mentioned that we haven't spent very much time speaking about. I did not love the stuff in the beginning when they first meet, especially in the pizza shop. The introduction stuff, I just felt it was that definitely felt rushed. It's like, all right, we're gonna do kind of the meet cute a la the Karate Kid, like that's we're just gonna get through it so we can, get to where we need to go with these characters. So um, I felt that was really, really quick. I know that the pizza shop is literally a couple doors down from where they just moved in. What do you guys think about their relationship?
I thought it was quick, but it kind of worked within the context of the movie because they're like in New York or whatever. So like people are very direct and blunt. So like, for them to rush through, all the locations and like the narrative and all that, and the introductions and all that, I thought that it worked fine. I thought their chemistry was fantastic.
I like them both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I thought their chemistry was really great together. The one thing I don't think I needed was whenever Victor goes to the hospital and Lee is having a little crisis because it's reminding him of what happened to his brother, and so they have this little fight and they're not together. I don't think at that point there was so much going on in the movie. I don't think they needed to fight. I don't think we needed any of that. And they all ultimately just make up by him giving her a glass of Pepsi. Like I don't know. Pepsi was
I,
in this movie a lot, by the way. But I don't know.
that's interesting. Opposite from Coca-Cola from the Georgia where they filmed Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Different but same. Uh, yeah,
Same, but different.
What was so funny is my 6-year-old daughter, I think it was either earlier today or late yesterday. I said something. I made like a comparison to something, and she goes, "Oh, it's kind of the same but different." I go, "Oh, that's so my daughter, different but same, like
Uh-huh.
Cobra Kai." But it was cute that she picked up on that and said an expression unknowingly, that it's kind of similar to a Miyagiism. Um, yeah, the stuff on the rooftop, like I didn't mind it so much because another person we probably weren't going to talk too much about is Alan, the tutor, who ends up kind of being the only other friend that I was about to call him Ben, but Lee has, and he is also the guy that kind of is the reason that Ben ends up like going to kind of their version of golf and stuff, right? Like it's a fair or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and it doesn't go well for Lee because like in Karate Kid films where there's a misunderstanding without discussion, Lee sees, Connor there and he seems to be having a decent time with Mia. And so Lee misreads this whole thing and so that was very Karate Kid. So I'm fine with that. But the rooftop stuff, Phil, you can attest to this, but we just kept on laughing our asses off at Alan singing Backstreet Boys acoustic.
My favorite Alan moment was so at one point they did like the school montage, which I think they just did a montage for the sake of montage because I don't really think it gave us much information. I don't think Lee was getting bullied or anything during it, um but my favorite Alan moment was they're sitting there like during a tutoring session, and I don't remember what he says, but Lee says, "Oh man, like I'm not gonna cross my mom, like I wouldn't do that." And then there's a long pause, and he just looks at him, and he goes, "Did she give you that black eye?" And
Yeah.
I was dying.
Oh, we
Yeah, that
were
was
too.
awesome. That
We
was
we all
awesome.
Yeah,
did. Yeah, because I did not see that coming. But I mean, well, that long pause, that's when I knew what the joke was, and
yeah,
and it was up to the actor to kind of to land that sentence. Yeah, I like that a lot, and it was so funny because he comes off as a bit of like I will stand up against bullies for you, like did your mom do that? I know who I can call, that
yeah,
that kind of vibe. So yeah, I really much enjoyed that. Let's talk about some of the other like small moments that we really liked. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. To kind of go back to Victor a little bit. One that always stood out to me is that 1 inch punch. When yeah,
yes.
Lee demonstrates it, and what does he punch? Is it like a drink, a mug, or something?
No, I
I think
think it
it's like
was
a salt shaker.
wasn't it like a olive oil can?
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
a container of sorts, right? Lee demonstrates by doing a 1 inch punch to a container across the counter, and Victor does it, and it goes like a foot and a half, and I think that got a loud reaction out of us too.
And that's cool. You know, that's a reference to Bruce Lee.
Sure, yeah, I like that. One of the other ones that I really love because no, I don't think anybody expected this, but I love the callback to Stuffed Crust when Lee Fong
Hmm.
was being announced against
Yes.
Connor Day.
On the
So
graphics, right?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think no, I think it was spoken in. I mean, they might have shown his name, but it was spoken
Uh-huh.
in dialogue. You know, it's like Lee, Lee Stuffed Crust Fong or something like that. But I was laughing because like that told us like the passage of time. At some point, somebody must have been like, all these other guys has, like nicknames. You should have a nickname, and somebody suggested Stuffed Crust, or even the idea of somebody filling out the application for Lee or something, and maybe a Victor or a Mia. I thought it'd be cute to add stuffed crust just to be funny, but the
Yeah.
crowd's into it. Like nobody's thinking it's a joke. It's like hell yeah, stuffed crust, let's go. So it was already accepted. Like they're just everyone's just cool with it, and so because we don't get like a reaction to Lee Fong. Like, oh no, like why is that, or just embarrassed by it. Like he embraced it, like fuck it. That's my nickname, stuffed crust. Hell
That
yeah.
was a great running gag throughout the movie, though.
It
Like,
was. It was.
I
I'm
liked
just.
it. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It paid off for sure.
and it makes sense, right? Like, if he's in mainland China, like he's gonna get like commercials or ads for stuffed crust pizza from like the American chains, like because they still probably have Pizza Hut and Domino's over there, So
Yeah.
when he comes to America, he's expecting to get real pizza with stuffed crust. So like that totally makes sense. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Huh.
So even though we're talking about the things that we liked, just as we get ready to wrap up, the things that you like, anything else that we haven't discussed before we get into that the very last sequence.
Um.
I like you mentioned it. I liked Alan's serenading. That whole scene was hilarious to me.
He
Even the
committed. He
Yeah, he
committed.
totally did. And then I did not see the Backstreet Boys song come in. I was dying. I really love the visual presentation. It reminded me a lot of Into the Spider-Verse. They had a lot of scenes of just Li Fong just walking, just collecting. I mean, collecting his thoughts. Just walking, and they were showing like the Sony headphones. Just product placement and stuff. So yeah, that just gave me a lot of vibes from Into the Spider-Verse. So I'm sure that's there to appeal to the younger audiences too. I just thought that was a really cool, fresh presentation. But yeah, those are two elements that kind of stood out to me. I really love the chemistry with all the cast. Like I felt like every interaction was really well done. Like there wasn't any awkward interactions for the most part. Like I don't know. I thought they nailed the casting. Everyone acted their ass off. I also felt like they shot for a high floor, but didn't really go for like a home run. Like I don't think they were trying to get like an A+ movie. Like they were just. I felt like there was no way they were thinking like this was going to be anything higher than a B+. With such a one-dimensional villain and such a simple plot or anything like that. Um that's kind of my main takeaway. Like they wanted a high floor with like a safer type movie rather than go for broke and risk some kind of financial disaster, I felt like.
Mm. What about you, Mikey?
I'll agree about the characters. Like I really cared about a lot of the characters in this movie, and I'd love to see them in another movie and know what happens after this. I cared that much about them. I want to shout out the stunts in this movie. They were amazing. Jackie Chan stunts, or I everything was great. Maybe the best stunts in a Karate Kid movie.
Yeah,
I think I agree. Yeah.
yeah.
To say, but that was really good. Um, and I wanted to point out too. So instead of the crane kick in this movie, we have the dragon kick duck under final move is what we're trying to do. Or
All right. One thing we also didn't talk about was the training sequence. I had a good time with the training sequence too, and never could I had ever imagined that we would get Rod Stewart's Um, do you think I'm sexy? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
sorry,
so.
I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
that song.
So yeah, yeah, it's a song that the Locks also sampled. They call it "Do You Think I'm" or "Do You Think I'm Jiggy" or something. Do you think
Mm,
I'm sexy?
No, actually, I don't
Yeah,
remember that. I don't.
it was part of the
come on,
It's I
no.
think does Jackie like does I think Sifu Han plays that song during the sequence. It's when I think when they're like riding on something and like almost like a rickshaw, right? Like they're in a cart or something, and it's like Han and
And he's pulling them,
Larusso.
right?
Yeah, and that the song is playing during that sequence.
Okay. I like the scene in the subway where he's trying to do the dragon kick and then do the duck under.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah, that was
he's
great.
trying to do it under the turnstile, and the security guard is just looking at like, "What the hell are you doing? Not here. You better
Yeah.
hurry up."
I'm
Uh,
just glad she let them do it though,
yeah,
but did
yeah,
question like, how much longer is this gonna take?
yeah. Um, and yeah, I guess that's all I had. Just looking. Yep,
Yeah.
that's all. And then we'll talk about the tournament, I guess, in a minute, right?
Sure. Yeah. The songs were pretty decent.
I was
They
hoping for more though. Like Sony movies usually do a little better
I
with the
could have
soundtrack.
used I could have used more like actual music. I mean, we got some needle drops here and there. I still
Yeah.
haven't been able to find something to confirm this, but I believe Jin, the MC, aka MC Jin, who was known back in the early aughts for his Freestyle Fridays on BET, eventually signed with like Rough Riders, and he did a track on the Too Fast Too Furious soundtrack. So like you hadn't seen, and I think he's Chinese American if I'm not mistaken, but he did a song called like Rising Up or something like that, and I think used elements from the score, or maybe it was originally produced. I'm not sure, but it just sounds like something from the film. I don't know if it's a song that was written for the film. I don't remember if it played on the film, but I only know of it because when I was making posts and stuff, I saw that it was a track available on Instagram to use. That's the only way I came to know of the song. So I haven't been able to confirm if it's on the soundtrack or even in the film, but the Karate Kid movie account also used that song recently. So if it was played in the movie, I don't know where it was, but I do like that song and hope that there are more of it, or more songs like it in a soundtrack album that we can listen to. Like Sinners came out with a really great soundtrack album, that wasn't just a score as well. So that's something that I kind of miss from the 90s. And so hopefully this film will give us some of that. I thought the music news was interesting. I liked it because it was different, and they all obviously kind of recycled some Bill Conti stuff from the original Karate Kid films. So it gives us that feel of like it's still part of the DNA. Yeah, there's a lot of things to like. I think we all agree that the villains were very one note, and we didn't feel like there was a lot of stakes. And if you're following that formula, we already kind of know what the outcome was going to be. But nobody could ever had predicted what we would have got at the very end of the movie. If no other comments, we can get into the cameo of one William Zabka, aka
I
Johnny
I
Lawrence.
got one more thing. I liked how they tapped into nostalgia a little bit. They did a few references into Miyagi, but it didn't overly rely on it,
Hmm.
and none of it felt cheap and yeah, and none of it really felt all that cheap. And I thought that was refreshing. It was able to stand on its own, even without those references necessarily. Um, and that's a trap that sometimes these movies fall into, where they're too fan servicey, or they're too overly, I mean, or they just they just overdo all the nostalgia references, I guess. So I just appreciated that about this movie.
Hmm.
I think I just want to add. I hope that they make a sequel and we see more of these characters. The only thing I want is similar to how Kevin Feige's in charge of the whole entire Marvel universe. Can we put the big three in charge of the Miyagi verse just so we make sure we're not telling the stories the wrong way or saying something that contradicts something we've said before. That's all I really, really want, because I think it'll go a long way, especially with diehard Miyagi-verse fans.
Yeah, because Kevin Feige can keep all those things all lined up, and then here you just have one bad mistake with like the years being incorrect just in the first 30 seconds, like you mentioned, Mike. So that would throw a lot of people off, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, that one to me just feels like somebody didn't do the research. They're like, when did that second movie come out? 86. Okay, so 86 it
Sounds
is.
good to me.
Yeah, not knowing that the film really picks up immediately after the first Karate Kid film that came out in 84, but
The summer of
the
'85.
yeah, exactly, because the All Valley was in December of 84. So the events of Karate Kid Part 2 takes place the following summer in 85. So oversights like that. I would love for John Josh and Hayden, the creators of Cobra Kai, to be like the Kevin Feige of a Miyagi verse. If Sony was smart, I think that'd be a good idea. I think a lot of audience, um, viewers, fans of Marvel, they look to that. Like, is Feige in charge? I think that is kind of like it feels like a safe net for them. Like, okay, well, I can probably enjoy this because he has a hand in it. If you get a property with no involvement of Kevin Feige, you're questioning that. So I think it's a good idea to have the creators kind of just look over any future projects that involve these characters that they spent so much time fleshing out, just to make sure that the continuity and the canon is cohesive. So as long as they have some notes to give, I think we'll be good. And this was kind of a product of it. But there's going to be people that go in. I've seen very little criticisms, and the ones that have criticized this film has kind of said all the same things. So I see it and I understand it and I get it. But I think there was more to enjoy. More good that outweighs the bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
I just real quick, for the Five Boroughs tournament, I just want to point out, I thought it was interesting that they did it over several days and it wasn't just a 1 day tournament, and so it takes place over, I guess, a couple weeks. And also, I don't really know if it was technically a karate tournament or an MMA tournament or what was happening, but it was a different take. Uh, I wouldn't have been on top of a skyscraper with a big crowd watching it, but
Yeah.
it was an interesting shot.
I
It
would
was.
I would
Go ahead.
assume it's a karate tournament because they talked about they were talking about strikes and knockouts, and there was nothing about like takedowns. There was nothing
Okay,
about submissions, I guess. So
that's
Yeah,
true.
I wish I had. I had considered taking a little notepad with me to watch the film, but I wanted to kind of I wanted to try to take off the podcast hat off during my viewing of the film so I could enjoy it better, and I think I did. And so, but I do know that there was tiny little Easter eggs kind of sprinkled throughout the film. Like there was I think there was either a mention of, I think there was like a strike hard, throwaway line or something at some point. Maybe during like Connor's training, I kind of forget. But the tournament itself, a little unclear, but I would hope it's a karate tournament. If it's not, it's kind of fine. But I think not a lot of people are pointing out what they were saying about the 2010 film, where that's kung fu. You're calling it a Karate Kid, but this is kung fu. Well,
Right.
bringing Daniel LaRusso into the fold and teaching him some karate, I think people kind of, maybe not necessarily forget that there's still that kung fu element, but I think we dismiss it a little bit, and we feel better about that right now. Now they're including Karate Kid and mixing it in. Now we're fine calling it the Karate Kid, right? Um, but I do like the tournament. I wish there could have been a bigger build up to his match with Connor. Some more like obstacle, maybe not necessarily obstacles in the meantime, but just more toying with against Lee Fong, like while he's training or something like that, just to kind of add a little bit more of that that matchup, as opposed to like, well, I guess I'm gonna go fight the Five Boroughs because like I kind of owe him money. Victor, like putting him in the hospital. Like I need to win this now. There needs to be a little bit more of a motivation to also kind of take down Connor, to set him up as the bad. So one thing I did read is that I believe the last match is 12 minutes, and that is the longest match of any of the Karate Kid films. So that's interesting. Jackie Chan did all his stunts. Mikey kind of mentioned something like that. Jackie Chan doing the stunts, but he did all of his stunts. But also, Ben Wang did like 90% of his stunts too.
And Joshua Jackson actually did the boxing match. He
Okay,
took the
cool.
shots and everything. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm looking up something, and they were saying that like prior to being colonized by Japan, a lot of residents of Okinawa actually were very close to China, and a lot of Okinawans would often go to China, learn martial arts, and bring them back to Okinawa, and that's the birthplace of karate. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I think some people knew a little bit about that history. Robert Mark Kamen, the original writer of the Daniel LaRusso saga, I believe he has shared that in like past interviews, kind of that little connection, and that explains like the Mr. Miyagi character. All right, so there we go. At the end of the movie, we get Johnny Lawrence, Miyagi-Do pizza. I feel that's not one we've seen, have we?
No. I think I've thought of it in my head, but no. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I think that was new.
The first time it is actually mentioned in a movie for sure. There might have been memes and stuff that was like, oh, that's cute. But the fact that, like the way Johnny sets it up, like, hey, hear me out. Like Miyagi-Do, dough, like the pizza. I loved it. I do wonder who wrote that part. Was that written and John Josh and Hayden looked it over? Like that works. That looks like something Johnny would say. What did you guys think about the appearance of Johnny Lawrence in Legends?
I thought it was perfect. I like that it was kind of separate from the movie, right? Like it didn't really detract from the narrative of the movie, and there was a nice little Easter egg. It was fun. It was fun.
Mikey?
Yeah, I just thought it was great to see him. The joke was very Johnny Lawrence like. I think he might have been even more character than Ralph was as Daniel LaRusso earlier in the movie, and yeah, that's just with that one line, I laughed and enjoyed it. I don't know.
Yeah, it was serviceable. It put a big smile on my face. I was spoiled on social media for the people that had the releases much sooner than the US. And so I had to even turn off the comments because I was getting spoiled. I was like, well, if I saw that, I don't want other people to see that. So we knew that there was a cameo, but because I made the post, I was just like, oh, hey, check this out. This article says there's a cameo, and I wasn't looking for answers. And I didn't even think that people were just going to straight up tell me, and I was just like, oh, there it is. I did for a while think it was going to be Sholo because the original account follows him on social media. And so I thought that's what it was. It could have been a tactic to kind of throw us off,
True. I would have loved it if he would have showed up. I wonder what, in a future movie will Lee meet, Miguel and Robbie and Samantha and Tori or, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I mean, not I'm not asking for it. I did not need it in this film, but it would have been fun to also see like maybe Tori and Robbie kind of doing their rounds. And they happen to be like putting demonstrations on at this 5 boroughs.
I was thinking the same thing actually.
Yeah, if you wanted to include a little bit of the Cobra Kai cast and with their story at the end of Cobra Kai. And then with Daniel there, they could have just been visiting, or Daniel was like, hey, these are my people who are, they're doing like they're ambassadors and sponsors and doing these things, so that would have been cool if you wanted to add some of the characters, but not necessarily fighting the 5 boroughs because you're not going to want any of them to lose against the Li Fong, which also, by the way, is the first time we had somebody with some actual experience in the martial arts before getting into like fights and also the tournament. So that was nice. He just needed some more training is really it.
Yeah. I think I saw that this was the first time he was trained in karate itself, but yeah, he trained in kung fu already, I believe.
Ben Wang did train in kung fu and credits the 2010 film for getting him into it. But
interesting.
But the character has already been training. Like we see like the flashbacks with the brother.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Right. Yeah. But both of them, the character and the actor, both already had experience coming into it. So that was also a new one.
Well, of course, if you don't know karate, Daniel LaRusso can come teach you in 5 days. Don't worry.
That's it. Abbreviated.
I like that because he was experienced. They also kind of woven that into the narrative that like, oh, we don't really need to start from scratch and have him take the jacket on and off, and they were able to rush through that too and just skip to like the end game of his training, right?
Yeah.
I did enjoy the training montages overall, but too. So
Yeah, I did. So we already kind of gave our recommendations at the top there during our non-spoiler review. So this is where we conclude our thoughts. If you guys want to carry on the conversation, you guys can find us on social media. I do have a Facebook group page called the Companion Network group, I believe. It's been a while since I've pimped that out. Mikey, I'm not sure if you welcome the interaction, but if you do, where can people find you on social media?
You know what? Talk to me in the Companion Facebook group. That's the best place probably nowadays. So
all right,
I hate X.
All right, thank you, Mikey. Phil, what about you?
I'm not I'm not really all that active on social media aside from my Blazers website. So,
but you are in the group as well.
Yeah, I'm in the group as well.
Yeah, for me, if you guys want to talk anything about Karate Kid or Cobra Kai, I am on X at Cobra Kai Pod, on Instagram at Cobra Kai Companion. I will continue to, post things here and there, news, whatnot. But if you're looking for any other coverage, I am currently still in the middle of my Twisted Metal Season 1 coverage as we look forward to Season 2. But if you're also finding this review and have never heard Cobra Kai Companion, at the time of this recording, I have 165 interviews with cast and crew, spoken to just about everybody from the show, creators, the actors, the leads, all of that, and obviously episode breakdowns. If you guys like, people talking about the nitty gritty of the crooks and cranny of all the storytelling and layers that the show gave us in the 7+ years. So thank you guys for checking out this episode, and I'll see you guys next time.